I'm Michelle, and it all began when I was a little child. My parents divorced when I was 8 years old, and I found myself living with my grandparents. Dad relocated to a different state, made a few phone calls, and then, poof, went away. After a few years, Mom went off to Europe and married a wealthy businessman. I recall the day Mom departed. With tears in her eyes, she gave me a firm hug. "I'll visit, baby, I promise," she said. I trusted her. Sometimes kids are that dumb. She maintained her promise for a while. Once a year, on my birthday, she would come in without a spouse or new baby. Yes, I neglected to explain that Mom had a sister I had never met. However, Mom would arrive with arms full of presents, a rich perfume scent, and an abundance of tales about her amazing new life. Life continued. I tried to be regular, went to school, and made some acquaintances. But there was always this gap, you know. The place where my parents should have been is now empty. Grandpa and Grandma filled it as best they could. On the weekends, Grandpa would take me fishing and teach me how to throw a line and bait a hook. Grandma was constantly in the kitchen, preparing delicious meals. She would allow me to assist and teach me her trade secrets. But Grandpa became ill when I was 13. The doctors claimed it was cancer. It was violent and swift. He showed me how to fix a leaking faucet and told me his cheesy jokes 1 minute, and then he was gone. Grandma, I, and a few neighbors attended the tiny funeral. Mom was unable to attend. She stated, "Business emergency," over the phone. For crying out loud, I wanted to yell at her and inform her that her own father had passed away. However, I didn't. All I could say was, "Okay, Mom, I understand." Mom's yearly visit abruptly ended when I reached 16. Radio silence, no apology, no explanation. We eventually reduced our communication to sporadic phone conversations, which I generally started. I put a lot of effort into my studies in the interim, graduating high school with respectable grades, nothing exceptional, but sufficient to gain admission to a nearby college. The years passed quickly as I attended schools, worked part-time jobs, and spent time with friends. I was throwing my cap in the air during graduation before I even realized it. I got a job at a small marketing company after graduating from college. It wasn't glamorous, but it provided me with a sense of purpose and helped me pay the bills. It wasn't wonderful, it wasn't bad, it was simply acceptable. In Grandma's house, I had my routine, my pals, and my own little world. However, life, that cunning jerk, had other ideas. Grandma first began to forget things, initially minor ones like the day and where she left her spectacles. It worsened after I dismissed it as old age. She would leave the house in her nightgown and fail to turn off the stove. The news of Alzheimer's struck like a kick to the belly. It was difficult to witness the lady who reared me and was my rock gradually deteriorate, even though I did my best to look after her. Hell was the place. I was holding her hand the day she passed away. For the first time in months, she gave me a serious look. "Michelle," she whispered in a voice that was almost audible. "I love you, sweetheart." Then she was gone. I choked back tears when I phoned Mom. "Mom, Grandma's, she's gone." On the other end, there was a prolonged silence. At last she muttered, "Oh, Michelle," in a very flat voice. "I really apologize. Work is so chaotic right now that I can't leave. Don't you understand?" Thus, I was the only one who organized the funeral, chose the coffin, set up the flowers, and composed the eulogy. Like Grandpa's, the service was brief. I never felt so alone as I watched them descend the casket. I returned to Grandma's house, my house now, I suppose, after the burial. I couldn't stomach the idea of leaving, yet it felt too huge and empty. With recollections of the two parents who had reared me, This was my home. Life continued. In an attempt to replace the vacuum Grandma left behind, I immersed myself into my job. Months went by, followed by a year and then two. Then Mom called without warning. She chirped, "Michelle, darling," with a strangely upbeat tone. "I have fantastic news. Your sister will be attending college in America. Doesn't it seem exciting?" I was taken aback and blinked. "Yeah, I guess that's nice." "Here's the thing," Mom went on, her voice adopting the lovely, syrupy tone she used to express her desire. "I'm concerned about her, but she wants to travel alone. I hope she would remain with you." My stomach dropped. "Mom, I don't think." "Now, Michelle," she interrupted, her tone abruptly abrasive. "We must remember the true owner of the house. You know, I'm the immediate heir. I've allowed you to reside there out of generosity. Taking care of your sister is the very least you could do." It seemed as if someone had hit me. I responded feebly, but Grandma left the house to me. I felt shivers down my spine as she chuckled. "Oh, my dear, you have no idea how these things operate. Believe me, as long as you assist with your sister, I won't take that house, even if I could if I so desired. Recognize." My thoughts were racing. Was the home truly hers? To be true, I didn't know enough about inheritance law, and I was scared of losing my house, which was my final link to Grandma and Grandpa. The day my sister arrived felt like the beginning of the end. I stood at the airport, holding a sign with her name, Plo, feeling like an idiot. I'd only seen her in Mom's Facebook photos, always dolled up and posing like a model. I figured I'd spot her easily. Boy, was I wrong. I almost missed her when she strode out of the arrival gate. This girl looked nothing like the sister I'd seen in pictures. She was, well, perfect. Too perfect, like someone had ordered her from a celebrity look-alike catalog. "Chloe," I called out, uncertain. She turned, her oversized sunglasses perched on a nose that was definitely not the one I'd seen in older photos. "Oh my God, you must be Michelle," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. As she got closer, I could see the work she'd had done. Lips pumped up like life rafts, cheekbones that could cut glass, and a body that screamed at plastic surgeon's magnum opus. I felt like a potato next to her. As we waited for a porter, because apparently that was a thing now, Plo started rattling off demands like she was reading from a 5-year-old's Christmas list. "So like in Europe, we have this amazing housekeeper who does everything and a cook. You've arranged for that, right?" She didn't wait for an answer. "And I'll need my own car. Nothing cheap, obviously. Maybe a Mercedes?" I stood there, mouth hanging open. Was this girl for real? "Chloe," I said, trying to keep my voice level, "I work a regular job. I can't afford." She cut me off with a wave of her manicured hand. Whatever. Mom will take care of it. Let's just go already." We made it to the parking lot, and I led her to my car, a beat-up old Honda that had seen better days. Chloe took one look at it and lost her mind. What kind of squalor is this? Each word was like a slap. "You expect me to ride in that?" "That thing?" Before I could respond, she whipped out her phone. "Mom, yeah, it's me. You will not believe what Michelle is trying to make me ride in. It's practically a death trap." "Uh-huh, yeah, okay. Love you too." She hung up and turned to me, a smug smile on her face. "Mom's arranging for a car service. You can take that rust bucket home yourself." An hour later, Chloe's fancy town car pulled up in front of Grandma's house. As soon as we stepped inside, Chloe's dramatics reached new heights. It smells like old people and mothballs in here," she shrieked. "This is like a health hazard or something. We need to throw everything out and start over." I watched in horror as she stomped through the house, criticizing everything from the warm carpet to the family photos on the walls. When she reached my bedroom, she tossed her designer bag on the bed. "This room's mine now. You can sleep, I don't know, wherever. The couch, maybe." I stood there, speechless. This was my room. My sanctuary, the place where I'd cried myself to sleep after Grandma died, where I'd celebrated getting my first job, where I kept all my memories. But looking at Chloe's face, I knew arguing would be pointless. This girl was used to getting her way, and she'd make my life hell if I refused. A week after Hurricane Chloe made landfall in my life, I came home from work to find a shiny new Mercedes parked in my spot in the garage. My beat-up Honda had been unceremoniously shoved onto the street. "What the hell?" I muttered, stepping into the house. Chloe was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She didn't even look up. "Oh, that's my new car. Mom got it for me. Your piece of junk was taking up valuable space." The next day, I thought I'd seen it all. I was wrong. I came home from work, exhausted and looking forward to a quiet evening. Instead, I walked into chaos. The house was filled with strange men in overalls, carrying out furniture and bringing in new pieces I'd never seen before. I found Chloe in the backyard, sipping a cocktail and supervising the mayhem like a pint-sized dictator. "Oh, you're home," she said, not bothering to look at me. "Don't worry, I've got everything under control." This dump needed a major overhaul. I told Mom it was unlivable, and she agreed. "You should be thanking me." I watched in horror as workers carried out Grandma's old rocking chair, the bookshelf Grandpa had built by hand, the coffee table where I'd done my homework for years. "Stop," I cried. "You can't throw those out." But it was too late. I could only watch helplessly as my memories were tossed into a dumpster. That night, I called Mom, tears streaming down my face. "How could you let her do this?" I sobbed. "This is my home." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. When Mom spoke, her voice was cold. "Let's get one thing straight. That house belongs to me. I'm the rightful heir, and I'm letting you live there out of the goodness of my heart. If you can't appreciate that, maybe we need to reconsider this arrangement." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "You wouldn't just be grateful and keep quiet," Mom snapped. "And for God's sake, try to be nicer to your sister. She's doing you a favor." The line went dead. I sat there, phone in hand, feeling like my whole world was crumbling around me. The renovation lasted 2 weeks. I came home every day to find more of my life erased, replaced by Chloe's idea of fashion. The warm, cozy home I'd grown up in was transformed into something out of a sterile design magazine. When it was finally over, I stood in the living room, feeling like a stranger in my own house. The familiar floral wallpaper was gone, replaced by stark white paint. Grandma's comfy old sofa had been swapped for a sleek leather monstrosity that looked about as comfortable as sitting on a rock. The family photos that used to line the walls were nowhere to be seen. As I retreated to my new room, the smallest bedroom since Chloe had claimed the master for herself, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was losing more than just furniture. I was losing my connection to Grandma and Grandpa, to the life I'd built here. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, Chloe decided to turn our house into Party Central. It started small, just a few friends over on a Friday night, but soon it was like living in a nightclub that never closed. Every weekend, sometimes even on weeknights, the house would fill up with Chloe's college buddies. They were all cut from the same cloth as her, rich, entitled, and looking down their noses at everything and everyone they deemed beneath them, which apparently included me. One night, I overheard Chloe talking to one of her friends in the kitchen. I wasn't eavesdropping, I swear. I was just trying to grab a quick snack before retreating to my room to escape the chaos. "Who's that?" I heard a girl ask. She looks kind of old to be here. Chloe's laugh was like nails on a chalkboard. Oh, that's just Michelle. She's like this distant cousin or something. Mom lets her work here as a maid. I slammed the fridge shut, not caring if they heard me. Tears stung my eyes as I stormed back to my room. How dare she? This was my house. Damn it. The next morning, after Chloe had finally rolled out of bed around noon, I confronted her. No more parties, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. This has to stop. I'm tired of coming home to a house full of strangers. I'm tired of the noise, the mess, everything. She rolled her eyes. God, you're such a buzzkill. No wonder you don't have any friends. This isn't about friends, I said. The neighbors are complaining. There are families with kids next door, elderly people who can't sleep because of your noise. Not my problem, Chloe shrugged. They should move if they can't handle a little fun. I was about to really let her have it when the doorbell rang. It was Mrs. Johnson from next door, looking tired and frustrated. Michelle, dear, she said, I hate to be a bother, but these parties, they're getting out of hand. Last night, someone threw up in my rose bushes. I felt my face burn with shame. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Johnson. It won't happen again, I promise. As soon as I closed the door, I turned to Chloe. That's it. No more parties. I mean it. The next day, I got a call from Mom. I should have known Chloe would go running to her. Michelle, Mom's voice was sharp. What's this I hear about you trying to control your sister? I took a deep breath. Mom, it's not like that. The parties are out of control. The neighbors are complaining. The neighbors? Mom cut me off. Who cares about the neighbors? Your sister is trying to make friends, to have a normal college experience, and you're trying to ruin it for her. But Mom, no buts, she snapped. I won't have you interfering with Chloe's studies or her social life. Do you understand me? I felt something snap inside me. All the frustration, all the anger I'd been holding back, it all came rushing out. No, Mom, I don't understand, I said, my voice shaking. I can't live like this anymore. Take your precious Chloe back to Europe if you want, but I'm done being her maid and punching bag. I hung up before she could respond, my heart pounding. I'd done it. I'd finally stood up for myself. Just when I thought I'd finally taken a stand, life threw me another curveball. A week after my ultimatum to Mom, she showed up on my doorstep unannounced. She looked different, tired, worn down in a way I'd never seen before. Michelle, she said, her voice quivering, we need to talk. I let her in, my mind racing. Was she here to take the house? To drag Chloe back to Europe? Instead, she dropped a bombshell that left me reeling. I'm sick, Michelle, she said, tears welling up in her eyes. The doctors, they don't think I have much time left. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. What? Mom, what are you talking about? She went on to explain about some rare disease, using medical terms I didn't understand, but the gist was clear. Mom was dying. That's why I need you, sweetheart, she said, gripping my hand. Chloe, she's going to need someone when I'm gone. Someone to guide her, to be there for her. I need to know she'll have you. If you do, I'll make sure you're taken care of too. The house will be yours, free and clear. I blinked, but the house is already mine. Grandma's will. Mom waved her hand dismissively. As Grandma's daughter, I'm the primary heir. I could claim at least half the house if I wanted to. My head was spinning. I need time to think, I stammered. Mom nodded, wiping away a tear. Of course, dear. I'll be here for a couple of days. We can talk more. Those 2 days were surreal. Mom fawned over the renovations Chloe had done, praising her exquisite taste at every turn. I was silent, afraid to say something rude about it. But the weirdest part was Chloe's behavior. It was like someone had flipped a switch. Gone was the party girl, replaced by a perfect angel who helped with dishes and spoke in a sickeningly sweet voice. She even offered to make dinner one night, though I noticed she ordered takeout and tried to pass it off as her own cooking. See how thoughtful your sister is. Mom said, "You two are going to be so good for each other." I wanted to scream. Couldn't Mom see through this act? But every time I opened my mouth to protest, I remembered Mom's words about the house, about her illness. Could I really risk losing everything? On the last night of Mom's visit, she cornered me in the kitchen. "Have you thought about what I said?" she asked, her eyes pleading. I took a deep breath. "Yes," I said finally. "I'll try for you." Mom's face lit up. She pulled me into a hug, something she hadn't done in years. "Thank you, sweetheart. You don't know what this means to me. I can go back to Europe knowing Chloe will be in good hands." The ink had barely dried on Mom's departure when Hurricane Chloe made her grand return. The following week, I got off work early and headed home, looking forward to a quiet evening. As soon as I turned onto the street, I knew something was wrong. The bass from some EDM track was so loud, it made my car windows vibrate. I burst through the front door to find my worst nightmare come to life. The house was packed with people. Drunk college kids, sketchy-looking older guys, even a couple making out on my grandmother's antique table. "Chloe," I screamed over the music. "Where are you?" I pushed through the crowd, dodging spilled drinks and grabbing hands. When I reached Chloe's room, I found the door locked. Without thinking, I kicked it open. Chloe was there, tangled up with some guy I'd never seen before. They both looked up at me, startled. "What the?" Chloe shrieked. "Get out." Something in me snapped. All the frustration, all the anger I'd been bottling up for months came pouring out. "No, you get out," I roared. "All of you. This party is over." I stormed through the house, turning off the music and shouting at people to leave. When they didn't move fast enough, I grabbed the phone. "I'm calling the cops," I yelled. "Anyone still here in 5 minutes is getting arrested." That got them moving. The house emptied in record time, leaving behind a mess that made my stomach turn. Chloe emerged from her room, her face twisted with rage. "What the hell is wrong with you?" She spat. "You're just jealous because I know how to have fun." Well, guess what? I got kicked out of college, so now I can party whenever I want, and there's nothing you can do about it. Something inside me broke. Without thinking, I grabbed her arm and dragged her to the front door. "Oh yeah, watch me." I shoved her outside, then ran back to her room. I grabbed armfuls of her designer clothes and threw them out onto the lawn. "If you want to party, go party somewhere else." I screamed, my voice hoarse by now. Neighbors had gathered, drawn by the commotion. I could hear Mrs. Johnson's voice saying something about how it was about time I stood up for myself, but I didn't care about the audience. I was beyond caring about anything. I was still sitting on the floor, my back against the front door when my phone rang. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I took a deep breath and answered, bracing myself for the storm. "How dare you?" Mom's voice crackled through the speaker, shrill with anger. "Chloe just called me in tears. You ungrateful little reptile. After everything I've done for you." I cut her off with a laugh, a real genuine laugh that bubbled up from somewhere deep inside me. "Everything you've done for me," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "That's rich, Mom, really rich." "Don't you take that tone with me, young lady," Mom snarled. "I'll remind you that I'm the rightful heir to that house. I can take it away from you with a snap of my fingers." I felt a smile spread across my face. "No, Mom, you can't." I talked to a lawyer yesterday. Grandma's will is ironclad. She left everything to me, not you, not Chloe, me. And there's nothing you can do about it. I heard Mom take a shaky breath. When she spoke again, her tone had changed completely. "No, Michelle, let's not be hasty. I'm sure we can work something out. If you take Chloe back, I'll make it worth your while. I have property in Europe, a villa by the sea, a vineyard. It could all be yours." I thought about it for a moment. A villa by the sea did sound nice. But then I remembered the peace I'd felt in the moments after I'd kicked Chloe out. The relief of finally standing up for myself. No villa was worth giving that up. I responded, "Thanks, but no thanks," with firmness. "I got Grandma's savings. It's more than plenty to keep me comfortable. You are not needed or desired by me." I instantly blocked Chloe and her numbers after hanging up. I felt as though a burden had been lifted as I sat in the peaceful house. I felt completely free for the first time in years, perhaps for the first time in my life. The ensuing weeks were packed with activities. I immediately set about tidying up the actual and symbolic disaster Chloe had left behind. I cleaned the floors, painted the walls, and gradually started to take back my area. Mrs. Johnson said something that made my heart skip a beat one day when we were talking over the fence. "You know," she remarked nonchalantly, "last week I saw some furniture at the flea market that looked exactly like the old pieces your grandmother had. I assumed you must have sold it during the renovations, but it was unfortunate to see it there." I hurried to my car after thanking her. An hour later, my heart was racing as I strolled around the flea market. Grandpa's bookshelves, Grandma's old rocking rocker, and even the coffee table where I had spent years doing my schoolwork were all there. For a little portion of their value, I purchased them all back. I held the rocking chair while crying, and the seller gave me a weird look, but I didn't mind. Over the course of the following several days, I recreated Grandma's former living area in one of the spare bedrooms. I felt like I was reconstructing more than just a room as I put the old family pictures back on the walls and rearranged the comfortable furniture. I was restoring my relationship with the folks who had loved me without conditions. Since then, months have gone by. Now the home is calm and silent. I occasionally reflect about all that has transpired, including Mom and Chloe, and the life I believed I wanted, while I'm sitting in Grandma's rocking rocker reading a book or simply taking in the quiet. Knowing that I've severed my links with the last remaining family, I won't pretend it doesn't hurt occasionally. I know I made the right decision, though, when I take a glance around at the house I've taken back and the life I've created for myself.